Hello and welcome back to the track. Can Ferrari become title contenders after the Miami GP? Will Ferrari catch up to Mercedes with this new aero package that they're bringing? Is Ferrari really that much slower than Mercedes, or was this all part of Fred's plan to bring Ferrari back to glory? He's a crazy man, and as hopeful as I am, I'm also a little bit worried because the last time we saw this many upgrades from them, they went from having the second best car in 2024 to absolutely destroying it and having an absolute beautiful paperweight for 2025. Before we get to lights out, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and away we go. If this works out, then maybe Ferrari just pulled the absolute craziest move. The plan that he would have had to come up with in order to make this work, it's insane. It is obvious that Ferrari, no matter how well they do at the start of a race or during qualifying, they can never keep the top spots after a few laps. Yet we're seeing a much more optimistic and a happier Leclerc and Hamilton than we did last year. So either they're being held at gunpoint and forced to act all happy because the Italian mafia is like, or Ferrari cooked up something that both drivers feel very confident in. Ferrari will be contenders for the constructors by the end of the season. That is a promise. Sure, their engine needs a little more development, but they have the best chassis. So how will they compare to Mercedes with this? Because despite Mercedes having a really strong start of the season, every week they get caught doing something sketchy. So now let's talk Ferrari power unit. As it stands right now, we know for a fact that Ferrari will get access to the ADUO. What's still unknown is if they're 2% down or 4% down from the benchmark. This is how the ADUO upgrades will work. 2% down from the benchmark means that they get an extra upgrade plus a bigger cost cap plus more dyno time. If they're 4% down, they get that this year and next year. Being down this year will give you an advantage next year. So if they're 2% down, that means that their power unit is weak and honestly not that bad, at least not when you compare them to Honda right now. Also, being 2% down and fighting for podiums, that's good, right? But if they're 4% down, then it makes you wonder how strong is their chassis to be down 4% from the benchmark and still be fine for podiums? Hello? Did they underdevelop their engine on purpose? If they did, that would be absolutely mad. But even though they have the ADUO, they won't be bringing any upgraded engines to Miami. I think they're gonna start using the ADUO benefits for Monaco or by Silverstone to give Lewis a best chance to get a podium or a race win at Silverstone. I now pose a question. Since the disaster of the engine wrecks in 2014, the FIA created the ADUO to be implemented in 2026. And they did this to make sure that no engine manufacturer had a significant advantage over the rest of the grid. Pretty straightforward. So is it possible that Ferrari decided to dedicate more time to the aero package, knowing that if that was not enough to carry them to victory, that they would have the ADUO to assist them in the future? This is a bold strat to play out, but it kind of looks like that's exactly what they're doing because there's no ADUO for chassis, just for the engines. And if there's one thing we know is that they have the best chassis in the grid right now, and that you can't take that away from them. That is a perfect segue into the aero package upgrades that they're going to be bringing to Miami. So the new upgrades coming to Miami are a new front wing, an evolution around the flick tail mode area, so the rear wing, lighter parts, and continued work on the reverse wing. Last I saw anything about the McLaren wing, Ferrari were trying to make it close faster, and it had some stability problems, but we haven't seen it in action yet. Miami could be the perfect place to test if it could work there, if the straight mode zones are relatively straight. So if they put them here and here, I think this will give them the best chance to test that wing out and see if it can actually give them more speed on the straights. That's a lot of upgrades for a car 3 races into a season. And I can't help but wonder when they're planning to use this Macarena wing. Because if they don't use it in Miami, I doubt that they're going to use it for Monaco. That track is way too small. Silverstone isn't until round 9, so why start development from round 1? And the Italian GP isn't until round 13 in September. So how much longer are they going to keep teasing us with this wing? And are they ever going to use it? Fred said 50% of the car will be a new car. And the last time they did something drastic like this, they went from fighting for the constructors in 2024 to having a fucking paperweight in 2025. But if their chassis is not going to suffer and actually work with this 50% worth of upgrades that they're bringing, then just imagine what they're going to do once they get the ADUO upgrades in. And this is where Mercedes should start to worry because it's rumored that Mercedes don't really have that much more improvement in that engine. So it's safe to say that Mercedes are kind of locked into the pace that they have, and it's really only a matter of time until everybody else catches up to them. Ferrari went into the season with a very overdeveloped chassis, knowing that if their engine wasn't fast enough, they would have help from the ADUO. Whereas Mercedes focused on having the best engine from day one. Actually, not even from day one, from before. This goes back to 2022 when Toto decided to pull out of Formula E. This won't make much of a difference right away, but come the summer break in the second half of the season, Mercedes are going to be defending for their #1 spot. I think Mercedes is starting to get backed into a corner. And I know it's kind of early to say it, but when you look at Mercedes, it's like every week they get caught doing something sketchy. First it was the compression ratio, then it was the wing closing too slow, then it was the sudden shutdown of the MGUK, and they were okay with the new test for the engines being tested at running temperature, but what could they really say when every other team says, yes, test it while it's hot? You're gonna get outvoted. So they're not gonna be able to hide whatever trickery they're doing with their engine much longer, and I find it too convenient to say that the slow wing closing and that the surge shutdown were glitches. I'm not saying that Mercedes aren't seconds ahead of the rest. Obviously, they're not gaining time from all these little tricks, but still, it makes me wonder, why put yourself at this much risk this early in the season? And I literally mean every week. Week 1, week 2, week 3, there's something that they're always under the microscope for. Ferrari will have the better starts for the rest of the season unless Mercedes can get a smaller turbo in their engine, but I doubt that they'll do that. And once Ferrari gets this ADUO, they'll have the better starts and the better engine eventually. Mercedes, I expect them to dominate the first half of the season. And even if that's a stretch when Ferrari really have that much more to unlock on their engine. But you also got to look at what McLaren are doing. They've had some reliability issues, but once those are fixed, they really seem to be able to contend against Mercedes. We all know that Oscar could have won Japan had it not been for that safety car that came into play. We'll never know the answer to that, but still, you can't ignore it. So first half will be all about how much Mercedes can gain on the rest, but once every other team gets their ADUO and continue developing their chassis, it's only a matter of time until everybody else catches up to Mercedes, if Mercedes really are reaching the cap of the development for that engine. Because I think that's what has them at a higher risk than anything else, is that if they can't develop that engine much more, they're gonna come to a halt halfway through the season. So this is why I'm predicting the last race will determine the constructors between McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari. Max might actually be able to get in there with the drivers, which will be its own video because you can't hide from Max. But there you have it. Ferrari are close to Mercedes, but not close enough, but it really does seem like they're on a good path to get. And all I know is that we're about to have a very exciting Formula 1 season. So if you guys like the video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And until the next one, lights on. Am I getting better at these outros? Can you guys let me know in the comments? Thanks, bye.